The WNBA wasn't prepared for Caitlin Clark's latest move. Fresh off her first season, she's already turned the offseason into a masterclass in branding, securing six-figure speaking gigs and solidifying herself as a global voice in sports. Her $100,000 appearance at a Long Island corporate event represents more than a paycheck. It's a declaration of independence. While the league struggles to maintain relevance and revenue, Clark's building her empire one microphone at a time. Her decisions, skipping off-season leagues like unrivaled in favor of high-value engagements, prove she's playing a smarter, longer game. And that terrifies the WNBA's front office. Because for the first time, the league's brightest star is showing she doesn't need it to shine. This is where everything changes. Clark's off-court dominance exposes a shifting power dynamic in women's sports, where players can now out-earn, out-influence, and outlast their own leagues. Her global following and entrepreneurial drive are forcing the WNBA to confront a hard truth. If it doesn't adapt to empower athletes like Clark, it risks losing them altogether. What began as a simple off-season move has turned into a turning point, one that could redefine the balance of power in women's basketball forever. The WNBA just got hit with a wake-up call they never saw coming. And it didn't happen on a court. It happened on a stage. Caitlin Clark, the rookie sensation whose name alone has carried headlines, attendance, and ratings, is now making waves in an entirely new arena, corporate America. And she's getting paid. One speaking gig, $100,000, 1 hour of her time. And just like that, Clark sent shockwaves through the league. Because this move wasn't just another celebrity endorsement or light off-season hustle. This was a strategic pivot, a calculated decision that shows she's not just playing basketball, she's playing the business game. And she's winning. The Long Island Association didn't just pay Clark for a few sound bites. They paid for presence, influence, brand power. And that power is now starting to eclipse the very league she plays in. That's what has the WNBA nervous. Not because Clark is doing something wrong, but because she's doing something they can't control. When the season ended, most rookies would lay low, recover, train, maybe take part in some light promo work. Clark, instead, stepped directly into the next phase of her career, one that has nothing to do with jump shots and everything to do with leverage. She's officially building a brand bigger than the league. This is the part the WNBA can't afford to ignore, because their model has always depended on star players driving attention through the league. Clark just proved she can generate as much, if not more, outside of it. She's not doing off-season tours. She's not joining Unrivaled or playing overseas. She's doing something smarter, something safer. She's earning more with less risk. No injuries, no grueling schedule, no media restrictions. Just a stage, a mic, and six figures on the table. And that's not just a good decision, it's a game changer. For the WNBA, this is dangerous territory. Because if Clark can do this, other players will follow. And once athletes start realizing they can make more money on their own, the league loses a grip on the very thing that gives it value, its stars. This isn't just a side hustle. It's a seismic shift. The WNBA has been slow to adapt. Despite all the attention, despite the ratings bump that Clark brought in, the structure hasn't changed much. Players are still underpaid. Charter flights are still a debate. Marketing support is inconsistent. And now, one of their biggest assets is showing that she doesn't need the league's support to be successful. That terrifies them, because Caitlin Clark isn't waiting around for permission. She's building her brand now, at a pace the league can't match. And it's not just about money. It's about visibility, control, independence. Clark's popularity didn't start in the WNBA. It exploded in college. And when she transitioned to the pros, she didn't just carry her audience with her, she expanded it. Now, she's a national name, a global name. She's not just a player, she's a cultural icon. And the WNBA can't take credit for that. They can only try to keep up. Her move to high-profile speaking engagements is proof of that. She doesn't need a game to stay relevant. She doesn't need a court to draw headlines. She is the headline, and that flips the power dynamic on its head. The league used to set the terms. Now Clark is doing that. She's choosing what's worth her time, what's worth her presence, and she's getting paid accordingly. That's not arrogance. It's evolution. That's what modern athlete branding looks like. And the bigger story here? She's just getting started. This is the beginning of a much larger transition for women's sports. Athletes are realizing they can take control of their image, their income, and their influence without relying solely on a league. Clark is the blueprint for that. She's showing that you don't have to wait years to become a household name. You just need to know your value and be willing to act on it. Her off-court earnings are already approaching or surpassing her WNBA salary. That raises questions the league isn't ready to answer. Why would a star player continue grinding through a league that pays less than a single speaking fee? Why would she risk injury in the off-season when she can make more doing media appearances and endorsements? The numbers speak for themselves. The WNBA's current model is built on centralized power. But Clark is proving that power now lives with the athlete. And if that continues, the league will be forced to evolve or risk becoming irrelevant. Because make no mistake, fans follow players now, not teams, not leagues. And Clark's fan base is global. She's got followers from every continent. Her jersey sells out everywhere. Her games draw massive numbers. And yet, the most powerful thing she's doing right now has nothing to do with scoring points. It's her ability to drive cultural conversation. That's influence you can't manufacture. That's what makes this moment so important. Clark's decision to bypass traditional off-season activities in favor of high-value, low-risk engagements shows a level of career awareness that most rookies don't even consider. She's not just playing basketball. She's running a business. She's protecting her body, managing her brand, and setting up long-term wealth. That's what smart athletes do. And it's going to force the entire industry to rethink what success looks like. Because if Clark can earn more on stage than on the court, what message does that send to every girl watching? It says, you don't have to follow the old playbook. You can write your own. And that's exactly what she's doing. She's not waiting for the league to catch up. She's not asking for better treatment. She's building something that operates entirely outside of their framework. And it works. That's why the league is panicking. Because they know once one player does it successfully, others will follow. This is a tipping point. Clark is redefining what it means to be a professional athlete. She's not just an entertainer. She's an entrepreneur, a voice, a brand. And the WNBA is going to have to decide, quickly, how to respond. If they want to stay relevant, they'll have to do more than just celebrate her. They'll need to partner with her, build with her, match her ambition with real structural change. Because if they don't, the league will become an accessory to her career, not the centerpiece. And that's the part they're afraid to admit. Caitlin Clark's offseason move wasn't just a career pivot. It was a signal to the entire sports world that the rules are changing. That athletes no longer need to wait for a league to give them a platform. The platform is already theirs. So now the question is, can the WNBA evolve fast enough? Can it adapt to a world where players have more influence than the league itself? Or will it keep clinging to a system that no longer reflects how power actually works? One thing is clear, Clark isn't waiting to find out. She's moving forward, and the rest of the industry is either going to follow or fall behind. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Is Caitlin Clark leading the next evolution of women's sports? Or is the WNBA losing control of its future? And don't forget to subscribe. We're following every move, and this story is only getting bigger. Caitlin Clark has done something leagues rarely expect from their players. She's taken control. And not in some vague, inspirational, take charge of your destiny way. She's taken real control of her image, of her income, of her influence. And the WNBA, whether they admit it publicly or not, is watching her every step with panic behind the smiles. Because here's the reality no one in a blazer at league headquarters wants to say out loud. They can't keep up with her. Caitlin Clark isn't just a player. She's an economy. She sells out arenas. She breaks viewership records. She moves merchandise like it's liquid gold. And now, she's commanding six figures just to speak. One mic, one audience, 1 hour, $100,000 in the bank. That's not just impressive. That's disruptive. That kind of independent power throws the entire traditional structure into chaos. The WNBA has always positioned itself as the platform. The league gives you visibility. The league connects you to brands. The league builds your career. But Clark is showing that you can leapfrog all of that if you know your value. And she does. Let's talk numbers. The WNBA rookie salary for someone like Clark hovers around $76,000. Before taxes, before expenses. Meanwhile, she walks into a corporate speaking gig and pulls in more money in one day than the league pays her in an entire season. That's not a small discrepancy. That's a full-blown indictment of the system. And yet, she's not even criticizing the league. She doesn't have to. Her actions are doing the talking. And the message is clear. I know what I'm worth. And I won't wait for a league to catch up. That's what makes this so threatening to the WNBA's business model. Because Clark isn't trying to rebel. She's not throwing jabs. She's just operating on a higher level and doing it cleanly, strategically, and in full view of the public. The panic from the league isn't about her being successful. It's about where she's finding that success. Because if her biggest deals are happening outside of the WNBA, then where does that leave the league in the bigger picture of her career? As an accessory? A footnote? A highlight reel? That's a terrifying thought for a league trying to ride her momentum. They want her on every billboard, in every promo, at the center of every WNBA push. But the truth is, Clark's career is already branching out into multiple verticals that the league can't touch. Public speaking, global branding, media, cultural influence. And those lanes don't require her to lace up a pair of sneakers. They just require her to show up. And she's doing it smartly, selectively, and with maximum ROI. What Clark understands better than most is that the modern athlete doesn't need to be defined by the league they play in. Social media, direct partnerships, and brand building have flattened the hierarchy. Visibility is no longer something you wait to be granted. You create it, you control it, and you monetize it on your own terms. She is the proof. Her brand is bigger than her stats, bigger than her box score, bigger than the league's marketing playbook. And when a player reaches that level of power, the league has two options: evolve or be left behind. Because here's the slippery slope that league execs are realizing too late. Once one player proves there's a different path, everyone else starts paying attention. And Clark isn't just any player. She's the player, the one with the spotlight, the one every rookie wants to be, the one sponsors and corporations are chasing. So if she's skipping overseas leagues and skipping off-season tournaments to go speak at executive forums and corporate luncheons for six figures, what's stopping others? The dominoes are already lined up. Players have been frustrated with the WNBA for years. The pay gaps, the travel struggles, the limited revenue sharing, the lack of real off-season support. Now they're seeing someone sidestep those issues completely, not by demanding change from within, but by creating opportunity outside. That's power, and it's contagious. Clark's choice to take the off-season into her own hands is a blueprint for every player who's tired of waiting. Tired of grinding through international leagues for minimal pay and no visibility. Tired of injuries from playing year-round just to make ends meet. She's given them a new option, a better one. And what that means for the WNBA is uncomfortable. Because the league can't survive without stars. It needs personalities. It needs visibility. And it especially needs players who stay, who commit to the league year-round, who attend every event, show up for every push, and buy into the system that keeps the brand afloat. But now, that system looks outdated. If players start pursuing their own branding paths during the off-season and earning more doing it, the WNBA loses its grip. Not just on the narrative, but on the economics. Because you can't keep underpaying talent while they're proving their worth elsewhere. The numbers won't hold. The loyalty won't hold. The business model won't hold. And all of this, every bit of it, was triggered by one appearance. One off-season job. One moment of Clark saying, "I'm building my future my way." That's the scary part for the league. Because they didn't lose her. She's not walking away. She's just showing that she doesn't need them the way they need her. That imbalance is now public. And when the power dynamic becomes that obvious, the pressure to change becomes unavoidable. The league is in a race now, not with other sports, but with its own irrelevance. It needs to reinvent the way it supports its stars. It needs to stop treating entrepreneurship as a side hustle and start seeing it as part of the product. Because if it doesn't, it's going to watch player after player carve their own path, while the WNBA stands still. Caitlin Clark is no longer just a player in the league. She's a mirror, reflecting everything that needs to change. And if the WNBA is smart, it won't run from that reflection. It'll use it to rebuild. Because what Clark is doing isn't going away. It's not a fluke. It's the future. The only question left is, will the league catch up or fall apart trying to control something it can't own? What started as a postseason speaking engagement has exploded into something much bigger, a reckoning. Because it's not just that Clark got paid six figures for one appearance. It's that she got it without any involvement from the league. No team logo, no sponsorship deal attached, no game day performance needed. Just her name, her story, her presence. That's what made her valuable. And that's what made it clear to everyone watching. The balance of power has shifted. The moment Clark accepted that speaking gig, she forced a conversation the WNBA has been avoiding for far too long. What happens when your star player makes more outside the league than inside it? What happens when your marketing centerpiece doesn't need your platform to thrive? What happens when she becomes bigger than the league itself? We're finding out now, and it's shaking the foundation. Let's talk straight. The WNBA is built on the belief that it is the gatekeeper. That if you want to be a professional, if you want to be relevant, if you want to build your brand, you do it through the league. But Clark's every move right now is dismantling that assumption. She's proving that you can build your own ecosystem, one that's faster, more flexible, and way more profitable. And that's exactly why the league is panicking. Because for years, they've relied on a centralized model. Promote the league, boost a handful of stars, funnel attention through official channels, and assume that any fame a player earns will feed back into the league. But now, Caitlin Clark is proving that the flow can go the other way. Her individual fame is eclipsing the WNBA's brand. She's not getting attention because she's in the league. The league is getting attention because she's in it. That's a very uncomfortable truth for anyone who still believes in top-down control. The anxiety inside the WNBA offices isn't just about Clark doing something different. It's about what she represents. She's a warning sign, a signal flare, a reminder that today's athletes don't need to wait in line for exposure. They are the exposure. And once they realize they can monetize their own name without asking for league approval, the entire hierarchy collapses. Because here's the real fear. What if Caitlin Clark's path becomes the new normal? What if players stop grinding through overseas leagues for scraps? What if they start spending their off-seasons building brands, speaking at global forums, launching their own companies, landing their own deals, without giving the league a cut? What if the next wave of talent decides that basketball is just one piece of their portfolio, not the centerpiece? The WNBA's current structure can't support that reality. And yet, that reality is already here. Clark didn't just show up to a speaking engagement and cash a check. She set a precedent. She redefined what's possible for a professional women's basketball player in 2025. She showed that you can be more than an athlete and still be taken seriously as a player. That you can build wealth and influence without sacrificing your identity. That you don't have to wait for the league to figure it out. She figured it out herself. That's why the league's current strategy is falling apart. Because while they're still treating players like employees, Clark is operating like an enterprise. She's not just cashing game checks. She's writing invoices, negotiating fees, booking herself as a headliner. And she's doing it in a way that the WNBA has no control over. That's not rebellion. That's evolution. But here's where the tension really spikes. If Clark continues down this path, and others follow, the league is going to have to do one of two things. Either they adapt, or they become irrelevant. Adaptation means facing some hard truths. It means acknowledging that the league is no longer the gatekeeper of attention. It means creating infrastructure that supports player-led business ventures, partnerships that empower rather than restrict, and policies that reflect the value players are bringing to the league, not the other way around. Because let's be honest, the league didn't make Caitlin Clark a star. She showed up as one. All the league did was benefit from the storm she brought with her. And now that she's expanding her reach far beyond the hardwood, they're realizing they can't ride her wave forever, not without changing how they operate. The WNBA is at risk of becoming a stepping stone, not a destination. That's what scares them the most. Because if every top player starts seeing the league as just a piece of the puzzle, not the whole picture, then how do you keep talent invested? How do you convince athletes to stay, to build their careers through the league when they can build something more profitable next to it? You can't. Not unless you change. Not unless you meet players where they are now. Brand first, business savvy, and not interested in being boxed in. Clark has made that very clear. She's not abandoning the WNBA, but she's not letting it define her either. That's the line the league is trying to walk right now. And frankly, they're not doing a great job of it. Their messaging is still stuck in the old model. They're celebrating players' individuality as long as it fits the league narrative. They're promoting empowerment as long as it stays inside the WNBA's playbook. But Clark just burned that playbook. Quietly. Strategically. Without fanfare. She didn't need to make a scene. She just needed to show what's possible. And now the dominoes are lined up. Other players are watching. Fans are watching. Brands are watching. Everyone is clocking how Clark is moving. What she's saying yes to, what she's turning down, how she's curating her image, where she's investing her time. And they're taking notes. Because if Caitlin Clark can control her image, set her value, and walk into any room as a power player, not just a player, then who says others can't? That's what makes this moment so important. Not just for the league, but for women's sports across the board. This isn't just about one off-season gig. It's about the future. A future where athletes don't wait for institutions to catch up, where they take control from day one, where they own their careers in every sense of the word. The WNBA is now playing catch-up with a player it thought it could lead. And unless it adjusts, radically, not incrementally, it will get left behind. Caitlin Clark didn't have to stage a protest. She didn't need to demand change. She just stepped in her power and showed the world what's possible. The league's move now, that'll determine everything. Is the WNBA ready to become a partner to its players, or will it double down on being their manager? Let us know what you think in the comments. Is Caitlin Clark blazing a trail that every athlete should follow? Or is the WNBA about to lose the very stars that make it matter? And don't forget to subscribe, because if you think this is the end of the story, you haven't been paying attention. The revolution isn't coming. It's already here.